24 Foxtrot, 07 Eddie, 1107. I'm going to put it very simply for you. So we talked about yesterday. Okay, so basically, the feeling of consciousness comes from engagement with one's own processes. So it's processes engaging with other processes. Okay. Because we think there's... Hold on a second. You want to come in? Okay. Part of the issue... Let's get up on the board. All right, hold on.
I feel like I'm forgetting something. Hang on.
Okay. 2024 Fober 07 Eddie 1136. I think I got the time wrong before. I need to enunciate more. Okay. So okay. So oh wait. Let me put the stool here. Drink some water before I put the stool there. All right, so what we are talking about, I don't know whether you just saw the video. Consciousness. We're gonna try to give an explanation of consciousness, without needing anything new from quantum mechanics, and without citing any quantum principles. Now, if neuronal function depends on quantum mechanics, on their quantum things, then okay. But either way, they still function, and they still do the things that they do. Okay, so we talked about... Okay. All right, let's get... So, first of all, this is the world. Okay? This world, so the brain processes information. It does top-down processing, but let's just make it simple. We're going to start by drawing it from the bottom up. So you have the world. Then the world hits this layer, the first layer. Okay? The ears, the eyes, the nose, and the olfactory bulb. And then we've got neurons that are now being affected by this information. Okay. Then we've got neurons that are responding to whatever these neurons do with that information. Okay. So we've got a little flower here, or a tree, or a flower. Photons bounce off of that, hit these receptors here. Those receptors pass on some information a whole bunch of yeses and nos, or a whole bunch of, there's this many pixels in this quadrant or whatever, or this many photons. Yeah, this many photons in this quadrant, whatever. Then that first level does a little processing of it, passes it on to the next level. And intelligence, or, species intelligence, sort of about how many, I don't know whether I can break the level layers like this, but whatever, about how many times the information sort of gets processed, on how many levels it gets processed. So this is bottom-up processing, right? Now there's top-down processing, because this is where like expectations might be, that higher cognition stuff. So let's say expectations are here. Then those expectations are going to feed back and affect the activity of these bottom processors. Okay? So what's going to happen is, so these bottom processors are going to be like giving information. Like maybe they would say, oh, well, this is really bright. But let's say because we were expecting a flash, I don't know, we're expecting a flash, that's going to modify this such that this doesn't even say, oh, it's very bright. You understand? Another way that could function is that it does say that it's very bright, but then up here, the expectation says, oh, hey, stop. But isn't it maybe more efficient, at least, I don't know, in the construction of the thing, but in the activity of it, isn't it efficient to just shut him up right at the beginning? Or if it's going to be like, all right, we're expecting to see blue or whatever. So it's going to go prime those blue bottom processors. You guys ready? You're going to see blue. You're going to see blue. So then they see kind of blue, and they're like, all right, yeah, blue, blue, blue. Because they were, right? Anyway, I don't think that really matters, actually. So, but we've got this processing, okay? And each of these you can think of it as sort of a reaction to the one beneath it, right? Engagement with the one beneath it, or with everything beneath it that led to it. Okay. So now what we've heard a lot about is consciousness. We're like, yo, I can accept that vision is happening. I can accept that decisions are happening following this vision. I can accept all that's neurons. But what about my experience of the decisions? My ability to sort of react, engage with the decision-making process? I've got an answer for you. There you go. Now, it's likely that it's always going to be the top layer that we're going to be like, let me close the door. we've got this thing about we've got this obsession with some mysterious higher level, whether that's God or consciousness. And that was great for our intellectual evolution to be like, it's a mystery what's even higher up. But you're supposed to then go and try and solve the mystery. And then if you solve the mystery, you're supposed to be okay with that being the solution and find yourself a new mystery. So it's always bothered me that it's always bothered me all right. So Mary only sees in black and white. She has no perception of color, meaning no color. Okay? Happening here. Now, she is the best neuroscientist you can imagine and physicist. She knows everything that there is to know about the color red, what it appears on, what it does to the neurons, all the things it's associated with. She's read all the descriptions of it, all the language associated with it. And then the big question is, does she know red? Does she know red? So that's our no symbol, and that's our question symbol. Does she know red? All right. Well, no, obviously. She hasn't fucking seen it. She probably knows red more about red than you do. But when you talk about knowing red, it's about experiencing red. And no, she's never experienced it. That stream has never been effected. Okay? It red has never livered. Okay? But it's just a simple question of whether that process is livered or not. And you tell me that she's color that she only sees in black and white. So then you've told me that the process hasn't livered. So then if you ask me, does she know red? And I know what you're really asking me is, has she experienced red? Well, if the experience hasn't livered, then no, she hasn't experienced it. Now, she can answer more questions about red, explain more about red. She's read the description, so she can talk about the associations. She knows red better than you do. But no, that image of red that we can have right now in our minds, or us looking at this and going, ooh, that's red, that she's not doing. She could guess, it's on an apple. Could be red. So that boop, 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 boop has never happened for her. Or I should have done it in red. So that's happened. It's an apple, that shape recognition, that probability assessment of what color it might be. That's happened. But this has never happened in that system. But what's always bothered me about, so a lot of times in philosophy and neuroscience, we'll talk about the redness of an apple. And we're referring to this story of Mary, I think. I guess the story of Mary could have followed. We already had this concept of the richness of the redness of an apple that everybody was referring to. And then it was used for the Mary story. So I don't really know. I'm not a historian, science historian, or any historian. So what I've always been bothered by, so we're okay with this part. So this is our apple here. Just fell from the tree. We're looking at it, thinking about gravity. But also we're thinking about its redness. Let's focus on that right now. So certain neurons, not these, not these, not these, not these, are triggered by the wavelength of the photons that are hitting all of these, but it's not triggering all of these, the red photons. It's triggering these. So this one's saying to the guy upstairs, okay, yo, we got fucking 600 wavelength or whatever red is. And then this guy is like, oh, I just heard from my neighbor downstairs. Well, he's not even saying, he's just knocking like this on the roof. And this guy's going, oh, downstairs neighbor's knocking. It sounds like that's red. I'm gonna call that red. So this guy had just was just saying, because even if this guy had been triggered, if either of them had knocked, we've got a red. Okay? Because we don't really distinguish between every single shade, right? So this guy could be responding to 580. This guy would be responding to 600. Again, I don't know whether those are actually on the red part of the spectrum, but in any case, we can't tell the difference between 580 and 600, let's say. I don't really know whether that's true, but just adjust the numbers to whatever is true. And in any case, this guy's passing along red. So we got to get back to this. We have to note this. So dominodal processing. This is one of our Conil concepts, right? To replace the Warsaw illusions. If you can do it, if you're understanding this well enough, imagine each of these circles as a domino. It's like if you knock down this domino, it's gonna fall and hit this one. I don't know how I've drawn the lines. Never mind. I can't keep track of it all. I'll erase this to start off for you. Okay. And then this. Oh, that's a stream. But yeah, that's not a stream that's happening. Okay. So both of these dominoes, if either one of them falls, it's knocking over this one. Okay. Now, because this is a kind of an intersection, like the fact that this domino falls over, you can't know whether it was this one that knocked it over or this one. So we might refer to this as like a node, right? Where it's an intersection of information or of potential information. So we're going to talk in a second about simplifying, about our tendency to simplify things. And what I'm going to say is that might not be an it itself, a process itself. Okay, chucking this information out. It might just be an effect of dominodal processing. So whether or not it's 580 or 600, that information is just lost. I mean, not necessarily, but as I've drawn it, it's just lost. And that happens in the mind. So it's not that this neuron knew, okay, so it's 580, but I'm just going to pass on the information red so that I don't overwhelm these higher level processors, or we don't use too much energy. No, this dude don't know. All this dude knows is that somebody rang its bell. Whether it's 580 or 600, it don't know. So dominoes, node, right? Dominodal processing, one of the effects is information loss, of course. Okay. Anyway, so let's get back to this. Let's get back to this. Okay. So people seem happy to accept that the photons hit the eyes and the brain was engaging with it. Now we tend to, because the brain simplifies, it's going to take us a little while to understand that the brain is not a single thing. The word brain is a label for a whole bunch of things, that are very similar, but because they're different connections, are doing different things, have different functions. Um, and that's the importance of it theory, of explaining that the brain, it's not. A number of times I hear people say, oh, my brain did this, and then they need to introduce another character to talk about a conflicting process. No, you don't. My dad, he said, oh, my brain meant to do it, but not me. No, part of your brain meant to do it and not another part. Or, oh, my brain comes up with the options and then presents it to my consciousness. No, a level in your brain comes up with the options, and another level makes pulls the trigger on some of them. So here are the options: 580 and 600. No, not a good example. Because I don't know much about perception, but in perception, there are these bottom level judgments being made about what information to sort of pass on. I mean, it's just an effect of the dominodal processing, as we said. So that's not literal what I just said, as I just explained a few minutes ago. So we'll have a preference for certain wavelengths, surely. There are certain things that are more important. So red, for instance, is a very important color. Blood. That's about it. So suppose that we're talking about a pool of blood. So this is the in livery. That pool of blood is not going to be only red. There may be other wavelengths reflected by it because it's shiny. There may be it may be even very dark. Blah 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 blah. So it might not look like that. But red is a priority color. So suppose, I'm speculating here. Actually, should I just use the Crocs and socks example? Let me continue with this a second. So so we got this node here. Let's imagine that there's many more layers. So let's imagine this isn't as high as it looks, relatively speaking. But let's just say it's a third layer out of 10 layers, and it's got to say whether something is more red or violet. Gosh, I shouldn't just be using gibberish words, because none of what I'm saying is actually factual. I'm just trying to anyway, you can understand what I'm saying is that at some point a quote-unquote decision has to be made. Do we pass this on as red or as the other color? Because I'm getting a lot of votes for these other colors, but I am getting a few votes for red, and red is super important. So there's this carries more weight. So when this guy is going, yo, red, even though this guy was going, I don't know, fucking violet, this guy was going blue, he, let's say, only fires to say that indeed there is violet and blue if there is no so let's say this is an inhibitory signal. This red is like, yo, shut the fuck up, you violet neuron. Um,